You've probably seen this tool before, but what is it? This is the Flipper Zero and is one of the most popular cybersecurity tools in the world. Okay, so what exactly is the Flipper Zero?
The Flipper Zero is a small handheld device that can be used to interact with wireless systems and digital signals. You can think of it like a multi-purpose tool for cybersecurity, as it can be used to test the security of your systems. Originally used for pen testing, hardware hacking, learning cybersecurity, and more, it still holds a gray area towards the possibilities of the device. It can most definitely be used for illegal things, although the tool itself isn't illegal, which is why it's important to be ethical while using the Flipper Zero.
Alright, there's a couple of components that the Flipper Zero has. The first one being the sub-gigahertz radio, which basically, as the name sounds, it can read, copy, analyze all radio signals below 1 gigahertz. Next, we got near field communication, or NFC, or radio frequency identification, which is all called RFID, which is kind of the same thing. So it's more like stuff that's used on things like hotel cards or transit cards, etc., etc. The Flipper also has an infrared transmitter, which basically lets you use a Flipper Zero as sort of like a remote. Finally, the last major thing is the GPIO pins, which let you connect external hardware to it, such as the Wi-Fi dev board, which you could also buy. Let's go deeper into these components though.
Starting off with the first big feature of the Flipper Zero is its sub-gigahertz app. The Flipper Zero can read, copy, and replay sub-gigahertz signals. This can be used to test for any insecurities or compromises in devices. It can be used to emulate things like garage openers, smart plugs, and even some car keys. However, it's important to know that this won't work for all devices. For example, newer car keys use something called rolling code, which means every time you press a button on the car key or transmit a signal, it won't submit the same frequency every time, which means if the Flipper Zero copies a certain frequency, the car won't be able to register the frequency that it copied. This means anything trying to capture the data won't be able to use the data again. We'll go more over this in the next video. Next up is RFID and NFC. RFID stands for radio frequency identification and can be used to identify objects with RFID tags. Examples of this are office keycards and student IDs. NFC is a more advanced and secure version of RFID. Examples of this are like credit cards or Clipper cards. As useful as NFC is, it can also be very dangerous. For example, it can be copied and used in other locations without the owner's knowledge. Thankfully, the Flipper Zero has restrictions on this and can't be used to copy things like credit cards and debit cards. Another feature the Flipper Zero has is an infrared mode. Infrared is electromagnetic radiation, and devices use it to transmit information between one another. A very common example of a device that uses infrared is TVs. A TV has an infrared receiver, and it can read how the infrared diode in a TV remote flashes and translates that into commands such as on or off. In a similar way, the Flipper Zero can copy and replay infrared signals. This means you can use it to interact between basically any device that uses infrared. You can see the IR module on the Flipper Zero here in this black square. The next feature I want to talk about is bad USB. When the Flipper Zero is on this mode and plugged into your computer, the computer recognizes it as a human interface device, like a keyboard or a mouse. This is an example of why you shouldn't plug in any random USB into your computer, as once it's plugged in, it can execute malicious tasks immediately, like changing system settings, opening back doors, or taking data from your computer, all done in the blink of an eye. Finally, we have the GPIO. The GPIO is basically like a breadboard on top of your Flipper Zero, and it can be used to connect hardware or electronics to your Flipper Zero. You can see it here on top of the Flipper Zero. On the side, you can also purchase a Wi-Fi dev board. The Wi-Fi dev board is a module that attaches on your Flipper Zero. It gives your Flipper Zero the ability to scan Wi-Fi networks and access basic information about the Wi-Fi networks as well. You are also able to do basic network tests using the Wi-Fi dev board.
We touched on this a bit before, and although yes, the Flipper Zero very much can do illegal things, it's important to note that that's not the intended purpose of the tool. It's made to mess around with, learn, pen test, and more. And it's not a free pass to do unethical things. Now, if you use this tool responsibly, it's really the greatest way to understand how tech around us works and the vulnerabilities that come associated with it. This episode is a multi-part series that covers everything about the Flipper Zero. If you really like this video and you are interested in cybersecurity and hacking, consider subscribing. It really helps us out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.